Get yourself a toy poodle and the best friend in the world. A, they have no politics. B, they never disagree with you. C, they bite the hands of anybody who tries to touch your radio equipment. D, they cost very little to take care of. E, they sleep during your show. You're wonderful. Talk to a dog. It's not so bad. Life could be worse. You know, I'm getting tired of this topic, but I know it's not going to go away. In fact, just when I'd like to not talk about it, like today, again, mad bombers in Mali. What am I supposed to do, not talk about who did it? I'm supposed to say, Christians did it. Oh, no, it was those Buddhists who did that. Oh, right. The Buddhists put the bomb in Mali. That's right. That would have been a convenient narrative for CAIR. But it wasn't Buddhists, it wasn't Hindus, it wasn't Jews, it wasn't Christians. And how many died who were Muslims? Plenty. So what do you do when you have a situation like that, with Muslims killing Muslims and Christians and Jews and Buddhists and agnostics? What do you do in such a situation? I guess you have to do what we're doing. And you have to do it with even more intelligence and more force. That's what you do. You can't do any more than that. And then you have to elect a government that's really going to protect you. And you have to elect a government that's willing to admit that it's Islamic terrorism and do what's necessary to protect you from Islamic terrorism. You can't put your head in the sand unless you're Barack Obama. He's been able to get away with it his whole life because nobody would ever dare criticize him. And of course, the wife isn't going to criticize him. She was busy dancing the night away 3 days after Paris. It was on my Facebook page. I almost couldn't believe my eyes. A London paper publisher in a red dress or an orange dress dancing the rumba in Manhattan at a Broadway dance club with some friends. It's unbelievable to me. It's like, let them eat cake. It's like they're laughing at us and the rest of the world saying, look, we got away with this. We were never entitled to this job. We're not up to the position. So I'll keep giving speeches on racism and fly around the world and then go dancing. That's all. And the idiots will eat it up. I can always go on Oprah to polish my image. Hey, it's a pretty bad thing when you own the media and the media's against the people, isn't it? So what do you take home from a program like this today, where you see the madness and the murder and the mayhem and you know it's coming from one particular worldview, which is related to one particular religion? And it's not classical Islam that is doing this. I have to make that point. Look, I'm a highly educated man. I know the difference between classically educated Muslims and even reasonably educated Muslims and these psychotics. Trust me, I understand the difference. I've also said over and over again on this show, in case you missed it, that more Muslims have died at the hands of these fanatics than have any other religion, people of any other religion. That's a fact of reality as well. So what do you do when you have these fanatics? They're basically drug addicts. I don't know if you saw that story today, the drugs that they're on when they go on these rampages. It's quite interesting from my point of view that just yesterday I tried to educate you about the dangers of marijuana, especially hashish, and how it brings violence out in people. I don't think it fell on fertile ears. Many of you think that marijuana is just a harmless herb. It tends to bring out violence in people. You don't know that. But the word assassin and hashish come from the same root word. It's an Arabic word. Hashish comes from the Arabic of assassin, because it was well known for hundreds of years that assassins would smoke that tarry substance and then become crazier than they already were. Now we find a story this morning that was just astonishing, that didn't link the murderers, in the mass murderers in France to hashish in particular. It was a speed-like compound that was originally created and then banished to treat ADD, I think back in the 70s. I can't find the exact article. But it was a drug created along the lines of an amphetamine, I suppose, which makes people totally psychotic and brings out total madness in the people. I can't find it. But they're drug addicts, as you would expect. To be able to go on a massacre like this, no matter how deranged they are, I think that there's a shred of humanity somewhere inside those people. Here it is, the ISIS drug fiends. Homemade cocaine fueling jihadis and triggering psychosis. London Express, I linked it up on, MichaelSavage.com. And they actually describe the drug. Fueling jihadis and triggering psychosis using a notorious, cheap, easy-to-produce cocaine-like drug which allows them to keep fighting for hours on end, often with little food or sleep. It also triggers psychotic episodes. Killers who struck in Paris, produced by ISIS chemists, sells across Syria and the Middle East for as little as 90 pence a tablet. Captagon, I shouldn't have even mentioned it because it'll soon be sold in San Francisco's Embarcadero. Captagon, the trade name of a now banned German drug designed to treat ADHD, has in its copycat homemade form for years been the narcotic of choice for many in the Middle East. The drug, whose generic name is phenethylene, increases aggression at higher doses, and abusers can have oral and visual hallucinations, psychotic episodes, or extreme dysphoria that manifests as paranoia or depression. Sounds like Hollywood. I mean, if you look at most of the people at the Academy Awards, it looks like they're on Captagon or a Captagon-related drug. Nevertheless, it carries the risk of heart failure or brain hemorrhages followed by death. And you can read the whole story on my website, michaelsavage.com. And they think that it's being used by these lunatics to make them even worse than they already are. So drugs are related to it. And look, the solution to the Syrian conflict is coming very soon because of Putin. Once Putin stepped in there, and he stepped up the air campaign, and France has stepped up the air campaign, while Obama continues to lie his way through the crisis as usual, always getting away with murder with his booming voice. Gets up because of booming speech. Loves to hear his own voice. Aristotle wrote about people like that in ancient Greece. He wrote about people who love to hear the sound of their own voice. I think he wrote about them called the hollow men. There was also a great English poet who wrote a poem called The Straw Man. Obama could be painted as either of those if you wish. A straw man with a great voice who likes to hear his own voice. But the fact of the matter is, this is coming to an end. Russia will bomb them and bomb them and bomb them. France will bomb them and bomb them and bomb them. And once the Russian troops get in there, 150,000 of them, and Jake Tapwater's not there, MSNBC cameras are not in there, Fox News is not in there, Reuters is not in there, they'll kill every last one of them and everyone in their house. They will throw grenades into the houses and kill them all. And they'll kill everything that moves in the village and in the building. And then once the dust settles and this crisis is over in Syria, tell me something, is Obama going to take the Syrians that he's bringing in and send them home to rebuild their own nation? No, because his long-term goal is to make sure that they're here in order to further de-Christianize America. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUIC. All right, welcome back to the Savage Nation. Russia doubles jets bombing Syria. ISIS targets as single missile attack kills 600 jihadis. Let's have a round of applause for the only man on the world stage, Vlad the Impaler. Russia has just killed 600 of these vermin with a single missile strike with Russian jets. That's the sound of one hand clapping here in the Savage studio. Now, here's an interesting idea coming out of the conservative movement in England. He says Islamic terrorists should be banished to an island prison built by the EU, says far-right leader. He's so far to the right that he's absolutely right. Of course they should be banished to an island prison. That's if you want to keep them alive at all. I don't know why they don't have the death penalty in England. Are they that stupid? They're going to clothe them, feed them, give them Qurans, and let them pray in a jail to come back another day to kill their wives and children? No, they need to bring back the death penalty. And they need to start executing them and not coddling them. They're laughing at them. They know the West is stupid and weak like butter. A knife through butter. Why do you think they're attacking? Because they know nothing will happen to them if they get caught. That's all. Larry on WDRC, line 6. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Yeah, long-time listener. You know how you're always telling us, I told you so, I told you so. I'm going to go back for your audience to the summer of 2005. Do you remember? You would come on the radio every day, and what would you say? Day 45, and France is on fire. Day 46, France is still on fire. Why isn't anybody else telling you this? And he would say, I'm telling you this because the French are appeasing these people. Every major city was on fire by the end of the summer. You were the only one telling us.
Oh, you mean when the Muslims, the friendly Muslims who had alleged grievances, were setting cars on fire and the French did nothing?
Every major city was on fire and you'd come on.
That's correct. That's how it starts. First, it starts with the lies of the type you get from the American radical lefts in Ferguson. They create false narratives about their grievances, And then they start with vandalism. And then when there's no reaction to their vandalism, as it was in Ferguson or Baltimore, they burn the whole city to the ground if they can. Then when they get away with burning the city to the ground and castigating the police, they go to the next step and they become terrorists. That's exactly the progress of these Islamists. And it's no different than our homegrown terrorists here with their fake grievances. No, I forgot that. I know that it preceded the terrorism in France. It was the firebombing of cars. And so, my friends, it goes. The world's on fire. More people dead today. Or was it last night? I'm sure you'll wake up over the weekend to another attack. I'm sure the great man with the booming voice will come back and say, I can assure you that they're as safe as any tourist that comes in. Anyone who opposes it violates American values. Then you'll hear the echo chamber. American values, American values, American values, American values, MSNBC, American values, CNN, violates our American values. Jake Tapwater, not to be outdone, it violates American values. Shep Smith of American values, American values, American values, American values. My friends, remember one thing. The number one American value is your survival. Never forget it. Don't let these morons in the media or the government tell you any other thing. Your number one American value, taught to you from the day of our founding, is survival. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Never forget that the first word is life. For without your life, there can be no liberty, and there can be no pursuit of happiness. Remind that to Shep Smith, the idiot. Actually, he's the imbecile of Fox News, is Shep Smith. It's the savage nation. What shall I say? God bless America. Give us back our borders, language, and culture, and deliver us from the evil of Barry from Honolulu.